Hello, good morning to everyone who's listening. Just to thank you for joining us. And I'd like to wait just 1 minute for everybody to join. Before we start, I want to comment that we are running Airmeet platform, and the Airmeet platform allows some questions. So please, whenever you want to make a question, please write it down in the chat, and we'll try to to address the question that you're making. We have 1 hour, so let me just wait 1 minute. Okay, yes, it's 1 minute after 9. So thank you very much. We have a lot of content to deliver to you. I want to introduce myself. I'm Alberto Abella. I'm working for the FIWARE Foundation, and I'm here on behalf of Juan Joyero, and I'm glad to have here some others of my colleagues, Rajani, which is the CTO of the iSHARE Foundation, and Gerard van der Hoeven, the Executive Director of iSHARE Foundation, together with my colleagues Angeles and Angie, and Jane also from FIWARE Foundation. Thank you very much to attend this training. So the idea today is to introduce the training that you are going to take during this week, and we are willing to make you or to deliver you the skills that you need in order to become an expert in the i4Trust and to be capable to run successful projects. And of course, I have to introduce you that by the end of the session, we'll be delivering the details for the next open call in which we will be funding some of the projects. So let's skip to the next, and we are going to start with a general introduction. Okay, so first, what is i4Trust? The idea, the goal of the i4Trust is breaking down the barriers to data sharing. So we know that the data spaces are currently one of the enablers of the data economy. So for some people, data spaces is just a kind of a trend and a future, but for us, it's something which is actually running. So our vision is to develop a sustainable ecosystem, and not only an ecosystem, but a vibrant community of data spaces for effective and trusted data sharing. This is radically important, trusted data sharing. So data spaces are key, as I've mentioned, for enabling the data economy and for creating a sustainable society. And in these data spaces, we have to design in a way that we could be capable of enable the open innovation. So we don't know what's going to happen in the coming days or in the coming months regarding data economy, but we have to be ready for achieving that. And I want also to mention that this project has been led by several organizations. One is iSHARE Foundation. It will be introduced later. I'm working for the FIWARE Foundation, and it's also worth to be mentioned the Funding Box, which is one organization specialized in cascade funding and responsible for the open calls that we are going to comment by the end of the session. I want also to share what are our main values, which are openness. So everything that we do is mostly open source, and the specifications are also open. And community, because we are not here for delivering a technical framework, but also to deliver something which can be run by the own community and to have a self-governance. And the last point that I want to mention is that this is oriented to promote the participation of small and medium enterprises and the support with the digital innovation hubs. We are leveraging on the digital innovation hubs that there are on Europe. Digital innovation hubs are entities which promotes the innovation, and this training will be especially interesting for them. So what is a data space? A data space is something that can be defined as a decentralized data ecosystem built around commonly agreed building blocks. But to be honest, I would summarize to the place where data are actually interchanged in a safe, secure, trusted, and easy way. Of course, once we have this space, we have to meet some requirements like data interoperability. So we have to agree on how to interchange the data. Of course, if you are providing the data there and you're making some kind of a commercial interchange, you need to have some sovereignty on your data. And of course, you need to be in a space in which trust is all over your actions. So we have to trust that who you are, that the transactions are safe, and so on. Of course, the data space is just not merely a place in which you deliver. You deliver just data from one known consumer to one known provider. So, but on the contrary, we expect that there will be some data value creation, that you can do some advanced features in these data spaces, like easy publication, that you can discover what you need, because you can approach the data space and therefore you discover what meet your needs, and you have a clear picture of how you can get it. And of course, this data space needs a governance. So there is the managing of the organizations and how to join, because the data space, one of the principles is that it's not clear who is going to join as a consumer, it's not clear who is going to join as a provider. Okay. As is explained in the slide, so we will have data providers, data consumers, of course, but we will have some services which provides trust. We call it trust anchor services. And of course, we have to provide facilities for the identification and authorization, and including some access control. And of course, we need to provide facilities for the marketplace in which the transactions are performed, and for brokers. So let me go for the next slide. So and provide some examples of actual data spaces in the real life. So one of the first things is around logistics. Logistics, and you know that is a very complicated issue, very complicated domain. And of course, improving logistics means that we can reduce our CO2 footprint. Okay. And of course, in a logistics, there are many players, which is very remarkable. And you know that one of the challenges is the last mile. How can we deliver to the last mile in an efficient way, optimizing the loads and reducing the amount of travels, of trips around the city or around any other place. There is another example, which is the data space for energy. Energy is increasingly, for the crisis that we are suffering, is increasingly important matter. And of course, optimizing the transactions around energy has to be run in a data space. So, and of course, if you are a consumer, you want your data to be protected. And if you are a provider, you want only part of the data to be used. And we have to provide a data space infrastructure that is capable of delivering with these challenges. There is another very important one, which is the data space for buildings. You know that the smart cities are increasingly being digitalized, and the management of buildings means the management of one of the largest shares of the CO2 production in our society. Therefore, the management of data spaces in buildings is increasingly important, and we have to provide this a better planning, smoother building process, and also this I want to mention is not only for the maintenance of the buildings, but also for the construction. And of course, the production of food, the livestock farming, when we have new trends that are managing increasingly technical facilities. You know that currently there is a very high trend, which is the precision farming, in which instead of, let's say, putting water all over around our fields, we just put only the water which is needed, what is needed, and when it is needed. And all this information need to be shared across a data space in order to optimize these transactions. So, and now let's move on into what is the actual data space and which are the main building blocks. So these blocks are not from a specific data space, so it can be applied to any of the data spaces you could face around the market. And of course, the i4Trust data spaces will be agreeing with that. So in the left part, in the data interoperability, you have 3 blocks regarding the data models that we have to share between the different consumers and providers. We need also a common language in which interchange this data. So how to request the data, how to gather exactly what we need. And of course, whenever we are retrieving data, we need to track what is going on and to know what is the origin, who is responsible or who is accountable for this data. The next block is regarding data sovereignty and trust. Of course, whenever you have a transaction, you need to know who are you and to trust on that. And of course, you need to implement some access and usage control policies. So not everybody in the same organization will have the same rights to access the data, to purchase the data, or to manage the data. The third technical block is regarding data value creation. So we have to be in a data space to be capable of regarding or to find out what we are looking for and to understand what are the information retrieved. So we need to understand the metadata describing the data that we are willing to exchange. Of course, we need some facilities for the publication. So if we are a producer, we need something that makes easy the adoption and to the integration into the data space. And of course, to allow a different selling strategies. So we need a facility for the data usage accounting. So we know, remember that this in data space, you will be able to sell your data just a flat rate or just per volume of data or just for the number of connections or whatever other imaginative commercial offers. And of course, none of these technical building blocks would work without a data space governance. So in which uh, we can trust that people joining is providing what they what they are providing. So we can set up the operational agreements of the different commercial offerings, and of course, if we are allowing people to join either as a consumer, either as a producer, we need to trust on how the commercial transactions are being performed. So basically, these are the building blocks. And in i4Trust, what we provide is everything that you need in order to implement these building blocks. So you see there that there are many components around here. All of them are open source. Therefore, you can leverage on them in order to customize to your needs or to build your experiments. Some of them are provided by the iSHARE Foundation, and some other are implemented in open source components. And let's say the combination on all of them provides a reliable framework, because these blocks has been running for a long time before being here in the i4Trust project. So these are not, let's say, brand new blocks, but on the contrary, they have been on the market for several times. They have several reviews and versions, and they have improved in order to increase performance, reliability, and other technical features. Therefore, I'm trying to, yeah. Therefore, I want to mention the fundamental principles. Let me check it out. How are we? Yeah. Oh. What are the fundamental principles? So the idea is that we don't know who will be the consumer. We don't know who will be the producer of the data. So we have to agree on the same language, and that this language is capable of delivering what you need, and to agree that the information that I'm sending to you has a well-known structure, and therefore you can integrate into your systems. And of course, we have to guarantee that there are common mechanisms for the identity and access management. So we have to be sure, who speaks and under what rules. It is also true that i4Trust is focused on sorry, on the secure exchange between smart applications, which will be possibly the main users of the data spaces. And the information that will be stored there into the data spaces will possibly be coming from the digital twins, which are the digital representation of real world assets. Okay, real, sorry. So digital twin data is composed by attributes, and these attributes can be either a property defining some of the aspects or a relationship which connects different elements of the reality. I'll figure it out. And of course, we need a context, which is the collection of digital twins. So imagine that we're in a domain, and we'll explain later. So this is, let's say, the high level view of the participants in a data space, where possibly the source of the information will be some context brokers in the different elements which are providing information about the digital twins of several entities. In the next slides, we'll see that what can be created here. And of course, we need to try to something that provides or ensure who we are. And this is here the iSHARE satellite, which provides this trust for agreeing the people or the entity that you are making the transaction is what they actually claim to be. And of course, you need some marketplace and publication platform which enables you to easily interchange the information in the way that you really need to do. And I've mentioned the technical blocks previously, but now what we have here is just the main standards or the main technologies which are implementing each one of these blocks. As I've mentioned before, these are building blocks which has been on the market for a while, so they are not the very same moment. And you have the data models. We have a common standard for interchange, which is JSON-LD, and the structure is defined at the Smart Data Models program. So we agree on the data exchange language, which is NGSI-LD. We'll see what are the capabilities, and one of the building blocks, which is the context broker, formerly a CEF building block. Of course, regarding provenance and traceability, we are following the ETSI. ETSI is the European blockchain. I don't remember what the meaning of S&I, but this is the network of blockchain across Europe. For the identity management, we have OpenID and OAuth, the trusted exchange with eIDAS, and the access and user control JWT, and the access control with XSML. Of course, regarding metadata and discovery, we have DCAT as a general and DCAT application profile for the description of the different data sources. Regarding publication, we also trust on TM-Forum APIs, which is a large collection of the business objects that we can use for our description of the information that we want to share. And regarding data usage and accounting, we trust again in ETSI. And we want to go not only to provide, let me check because I guess that I'm a bit delayed, so I'm going to speed up. The technology, so the idea is to create a community, not just to provide you with a framework with technology and leave it you alone, but to create a community in which the small and medium enterprises plays a significant role at the digital and innovation hubs. So there will be 32 business experiments, okay, involving around 150 organizations, including SMEs. Okay, and the platform for trusting, making the interchange, as Angeles has included here into the chat, is the funding box spaces. So you can check this link, and in this link you will find out other colleagues on the i4Trust community. And these are the main the main values. So I've mentioned most of them, so I don't want to emphasize. But regarding openness or cross-domain, because the projects and the data interchange is increasingly multi-domain. So if we are talking, let's say, about managing the building information, possibly the weather will be relevant, the environmental will be also important, the carbon footprint will be important. Therefore, the multi-domain is mostly a must. Okay, and now I want to review the different i4Trust building blocks. And the first building block is I've mentioned that we are based on digital twins. What's a digital twins? I've mentioned that it's composed by properties and relationships, and these values will change over time or not. So some of them will be quickly changing, some others will be rather static. And of course, used to be to have a location, which is rather common. This is not a must. And and in this case, this building block, sorry, oh my God, my throat. So we have made two decisions. The first one is to use NGSI-LD as the API. We'll see the capabilities, the advanced capabilities of this standard, which for accessing and requesting the specific information and to be elaborated queries on the information. And of course, to have the Smart Data Models initiative, which is accounting from more than 800 officially published data models and another around 100 and increasingly expanding. So, and here we see an example of these entities that we can be found into a data space. Here we are describing an example in the domain of a smart city. So we can have the bus, and this bus will have several attributes like location, the number of passengers, the driver, and the license plate. You can imagine that the location is changing very quickly, but the number of passengers not that quickly, not that quick, and the driver possibly will be changing 1 or 2, 3 times a day, and the license plate will be possibly changing from year to year or even longer. So we have to be ready to manage all this type of information, and not only from the point of view of the purely information, but also the location and the time is very relevant. So we are not interested just, oh, give me the instant location, but possibly we need to understand what is going on with this bus is meeting the expected schedule and these kind of things. And of course, there are many other entities that create the context of a digital twin regarding smart cities, and this information will be stored into our data spaces. Here we are see the same for a manufacturing sector. So we can have transport robots, some operators, some shop floor doors, some palletizer robots. And of course, these are the entities that we want to access, and there will be some others, because the platform that we are providing in i4Trust is in no way attached to any specific number of attributes, any specific number of entities. So it's flexible enough to allocate whatever you want. We have another digital twin for the agri-food sector. I've mentioned the remarkable importance of the precision farming, and you see that again we have some attributes, and this tractor will be related with some of the fields or with some of the farms, and we made relationships, and we made we store properties that can be retrieved into these data spaces. And this is the same for other services like the related with health, okay, everything. And remember that we have a framework which is capable of very precise access control. Therefore, whenever there is personal information, can be restricted to get access and to share the rest of the data. And last but not least is the energy. Energy is a very relevant one, so I don't want to extend myself on that. And this is important for you. So we've mentioned that we are using NGSI-LD as the language that we want to use for retrieving information. Some of the, apart from the very clear um, uh, CRUD operations, get, post, put, patch, delete. We have also some advanced features like geoqueries, so we can retrieve the information, give me the information regarding all the elements, digital twins, which are located in this area. We have also some other services for, I want to be notified whenever an attribute exceeds or reach some threshold. Okay, imagine that you are measuring the temperature in a farm or the temperature in a building. Of course, we want to create some batch operations. Of course, we want to extract the information into different formats. Of course, we want to make queries. Oh, I want the information in the last 5 minutes or in on the 5 minutes at the very beginning of the day. Or we this is another powerful feature, which is the federation. Federation means that we have a context broker here for this farm, and we have another context broker for this farm. We can federate, and whenever we make a query in one of the context broker, if the information is not there, can be retrieved from other which are federated. So it's a very powerful language, which is currently standardized by the ETSI standardization body, which is an open standard, open, that anybody can implement it. And in fact, there are several implementations in the market regarding this standard. We have also trust in the smart data models. The smart data models are a list of data models describing any of the entities that you can have there. So one of the remarkable differences is that we are not reinventing anything. So what we are doing is just taking something which actually works in an actual use case and document it and translate it into 6 languages and exporting into several languages in several technical formats, JSON, JSON-LD, CSV, JSON features, and so on. And they are sometimes coming from an actual use case, either from adopted and open standards, like these ones that you are seeing there, schema.org, SAREF, ISC SIM, or some others, okay, or GTFS or GBFS, and many others. And these are the 2 main resources. So you have a repository in GitHub, github.com smart-data-models, or smartdatamodels.org, in which you have all the information, all the updates, and of course you can retrieve all, you can search for anything that you need regarding the data model. So if you are willing to share the information, oh, what is the structure that I want to share? Maybe it's worth to review the Smart Data Models program and to check if there is anything already available, because if there will be some others using it, and the interchange information will be easier for you. Okay, this is the structure into the 12 domains. I'm going to skip it because we are really in a rush. And just the last thing regarding the smart NGSI-LD smart data model has been endorsed by this organization like ETSI, GSMA, and TM Forum, which are members also of the Smart Data Models program. And regarding open and agile smart cities, which are a network of cities across the world, and IUDX, which is the Indian Urban Data Exchange, which is part of the government of the India. Okay, so we have described it slightly, and now pass the floor to my colleagues, to Gerard, in order to talk about data sovereignty and trust. Gerard?
Thank you very much, Alberto. Indeed, over to the Netherlands. And again, from our end, a warm welcome to this event and this update on i4Trust. Really happy to have all of you here. I think I can, Alberto, if you let go of the screen, then I can take over the screen to present. Thank you very much.
Let me stop sharing for a moment. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
And if all works well, you guys can now see my screen.
Yeah.
Great. So thanks a lot, Alberto. And indeed, it's good to move over to the next core pillar of the Open Day structure, talking about data sovereignty and trust. And of course, data sovereignty is in the heart of everything that's happening in Europe as of today when it comes to data sharing. Data sovereignty, sounding complicated, but in essence, it's just you as a data owner being in control of your data, both from a consumer and a business perspective. Whereas i4Trust focuses on businesses primarily. So that's of course why in i4Trust, data sovereignty is such a vital aspect and vital element, where especially the collaboration between FIWARE and iSHARE comes to fruition, because iSHARE has been focusing on that element for a long time, since the foundation back in 2015. So if we look at what the principles are, so the key thing is that you as a data owner, and in this case as a business, control who can access your data, and not every field, all your data, but specifically for a field, so fine-grained as fine-grained as possible. And secondly, controlling who can do what with your data. And of course, in that we use existing standards and existing elements that are currently also implemented in the components that are brought here by i4Trust. So open standards like OAuth2, XXCML, and all of those. Bring that together with a key element of the trust that is required, of course, is having certainty of the level of assurance, as we call that, of organizations. Knowing that an organization is actually that organization that you want to communicate with and that you want to give access to your data. But that's not all, and I wanted to take you through the layered structure that we use for data sovereignty and trust within the iSHARE framework, and hence also within i4Trust. Because the key elements are built as follows. So first of all, it's a legal framework that builds that trust. The assurance that as soon as you start sharing data, that sharing of data is actually covered with the legal framework, and that the licenses that you give with sharing that data are actually legally covered by that organization that is receiving your data on the other hand. So with that, and since that legal framework has been around for a long time, it's tested in long value chains and in many segments. So with that, we enable organizations to really trust on what's happening on the other side. But then, of course, next to the identities, you need to be able to validate whether organizations actually signed for that legal framework. Are they trusted in that structure? So that's where the iSHARE distributed ledger enables data spaces to register their participants and specifically register whether parties signed for the legal terms in general, but also the specific legal terms for possible data spaces. And with that, have a trust anchor within the data space. Be able to check whether the contracts are signed, but also be able to check where data is stored and where authorisations are stored, because that's the last part, that authorization registry standard and structure, where you as a data owner store who can access your data and specifically what data attributes against what terms. And with that, you have the ultimate data sovereignty and the ultimate trust in what's happening with your data, but not trust from a soft perspective. It's combined. It's hard in terms of legal. It's hard in terms of technology. and it's hard in terms of your control, because at any given moment you can withdraw your authorizations, and with that stop the sharing of your data. So with that structure, we facilitate super flexible authorizations and flexible communications. There's no need of bilateral agreements. There's no need of separate exchange of keys, because everything is organized through the authorization structure. By the use of portable identities, by the use of identities that you already have, based on the ETSI framework, which is the European standard for that, we enable you to build trust in a very pragmatic way. You don't have to start over again. Just use what you already have. And with that, you are in full control, both in your machine-to-machine communication, so when you only use APIs, but you can also utilize the same structure in human-to-machine interaction. So diving a bit deeper, and looking at the time, I'll speed up because I've covered the core elements already. But of course, you have a few key roles, and this is often misconcepted in the sense that a data provider is always also the data owner or the data holder or the entitled party. But that's not the case. Usually, there's a service provider running a data set, and there's a data consumer in need of that data set, for instance, a government, and where the data owner is the client of that data provider. That is where iSHARE plays a vital role, and that's what we bring in to you in i4Trust, is that the data owner can control what's happening with that data provider's data that he stored, and how he's providing that to the data consumer. Using your existing identities based on the DIHS, and if it's more international or intercontinental, other identity providers are possible as well. With that, store your authorizations, which can be used by the data provider to give access to specific data fields to that data consumer, which is all coordinated and safeguarded in a sense by the trust anchor that is the iSHARE satellite. That distributed ledger provides you with the certainty that organizations are still trusted and are within the trust framework. And with that, not only give you that trust, but also give you waypoints, pointers to where the data of a data owner is stored, where his authorizations are stored, what data spaces he is a part of, and with that providing a lot of insights. And the key thing why we've done it this way, in a distributed way, is that it's not something central and siloed within one data space. The whole thinking of data spaces is that we create cross-domain or cross-cutting interoperability. And with this structure that we're running in i4Trust, on the trust aspect, we enable legal and organizational interoperability, and with the use of NGSI-LD, we also enable data interoperability across data spaces, and drive this whole vision to be cross-cutting across those elements. Of course, i4Trust is a tech acceleration program, so that's where we have the components available for you to build up your own data space in the same principles. So build that data sovereignty and trust with the components that are available. So FIWARE Keyrock, FIWARE API Umbrella are key components, and of course the iSHARE satellite is the trust authority and anchor that you can build on to build that same principle of data sovereignty in your data space. So a bit on why iSHARE. So iSHARE is not a new kid on the block. We've been around since 2015. Started as a pure B2B data sharing trust framework, and especially enabling cross-domain interaction. Started as the principle to have cross-domain organizational interoperability and legal interoperability. With that, we have a lot of collaborations. We're in close collaboration with IDSA. They called it the Paris when we launched the satellite. So So the satellite is basically the participant information system as defined by IDSA. We're working with existing CEF building blocks, of course, in close collaboration with FIWARE. And we are acknowledged by many institutes as the great example of a trust framework for data sharing, both from the European Commission perspective and different local member states, like the Dutch government, who totally onboarded on iSHARE and is now using iSHARE as their go-to trust framework for data access, where the data owner always is in control. So with that, we of course have been building reality. So building the logistics data space in the Netherlands with a lot of data already out there, and organizations like the Dutch Bureau of Statistics and the Dutch Bureau of Infrastructure utilizing that data that's already available in the network. And later on this year, or actually it's about to go live, is the energy data space. That is sharing energy data of businesses in the Netherlands. Next to that, we're supporting the building data space, the agriculture data space, and many other data spaces, because with that, iShare structure is not a siloed framework. It's a cross-domain framework connecting the different segments from the notion that every organization is in different data spaces by definition. So every organization is connected to, as a building, has financials, uses energy, and a lot of cases uses logistics, to take this example. So with that, a key building block and component, not only technology, but also legal in i4Trust. Moving back to you, Alberto.
Okay, let me share the screen. Okay, here we are.
I don't know if there were any questions, but no.
Let me check here. No, this is not the. Here we are. Okay, I guess that I'm sharing right now. Yes, I'll be rather quick because we are running out of time and we have plenty of things to say. So basically, what's the idea regarding the block of the data marketplace services? That you will be able to make the offer that you wish in the data space. So there are some facilities for the definition of all the offerings. So depending on many concepts, you can implement with this identity management data access control policies. You can rely OTM forum business ecosystem, so in which they are already defined around 500 or even more entities usual from the business. And of course, you can create advanced pricings and revenue sharing. So you can have not only basic models, free, one-time, recurring pay-per-use, to some which is more a dynamic pricing, some fees and discounts, some offerings, and of course, whenever, and Gerard has mentioned already, with some licenses, with terms and with some conditions, and of course, including some service level agreements. Another block is the data publication, that we can store the metadata describing the data that you're willing to interchange. We will trust on DCAT AP, and we are capable of retrieving some every portal with this standard. And it's worth to be mentioned that the open data portals across Europe are meeting this standard because it's the official one. It's now in the version 2.1. Okay, and we provide some discovery and brokering services. It allows you to imagine that, oh, I want to only information from this specific geographic area, or covering this special part, or we are willing only which is updated in the last month or in the last 3 minutes, whatever, and everything can be found, and you can reduce the data sources that you're willing to access by having these kind of services. And then let's move on into the data spaces governance, which is, again, back to you. Let me stop.
Thanks a lot, Alberto. We're really getting the hang of this, right? So indeed, back to me, and and I touched on it a bit already on data spaces governance, because trust and governance are, well, of course, going hand in hand a lot. Governance is about who is in our data space, to what extent are parties covered by the contract, but also what kind of agreements do we have within this data space. So that is of course a vital element in all of this, and that's again where we start with going the other way around, with the components that I already did previously introduce. So that generic legal framework is key element in that in the governance, making sure that you have parties covered by that contract. Register participants within the ledger to be able to know what participants are in your specific data space and be able to discover them, and not discover them from a data offering perspective. That's what Alberto just mentioned in terms of the marketplace and the decode element, but discover them from a participant perspective. Who is in this data space and what catalog can I request for this specific participant? And of course, then govern the authorizations. So the governance part is vital, and what we enable with this structure is not only to have a generic legal framework, but also have a flexible legal framework. So additionally to the generic framework that governs data access and a baseline of service levels, you can add specific legal elements and other terms to your specific data space. So you can add higher requirements, higher SLAs, more specific legal additions to your specific data space. And through the ledger, it's all digitally verifiable if parties also agreed on that specific element. So with that, if you have a specific additional legal, you can just add it. Well, super simple in the ledger, and with that, make your data space as specific as you want. So that is, of course, a key element for governance. Who are in your data space, and what did we agree in terms of legal? But the next element that you want to do as a data space is, of course, sharing what kind of agreements that you have in your specific data space in terms of data standards, where the data is served, and all those components we just passed. So also in the ledger, you can find a pointer to that definition part of your specific data space, which you basically self-host and provide to other participants, either within your data space or from outside your data space. And with that, we enable, well, a layer of trust when it comes to legal, with the use of, and that is a key element of all of this, and with the use of data licenses. Those data licenses are actually embedded in the baseline legal framework, and the licenses define what you may or may not do with the data you retrieve. And with the signing of the legal framework, all participants agree that as soon as they receive data with a specific license, they stick to that license. That list of licenses are, again, digitally verifiable, and is a growing list across the network. Next to that, there's the coverage of some operational elements which are also shared. So the service levels, which you can also extend in your specific data space. So with that, of course, we have our own governance in place. But with this, we enable you to build up the governance for your data space. At the same time, both iSHARE and FIWARE are foundations that are governed by participants, where there's an existing change procedure. So you can also and always be of influence, and through i4Trust, you of course be able to add to the different change advisory boards that are in place for the framework in general. Back to you again, Alberto.
Okay, here, let me share. Here we are. Choosing the right one. Yeah, here we are. Okay, so as long as we are only 11 minutes left. I'm going to skip most of the things that we don't need. And we have mentioned that we have one of the aims is to build a community. And for building that community, please join spaces.fundingbox.com/c/i4Trust, and then you can reach all the conversations and all the resources available for this project. I'll encourage to visit and to join, especially for those who are willing to participate into second open call. That is what I want to focus next time. So we have to mention that we are leveraging on the digital innovation hubs that you can create your profile into the platform and to make it publicly available for other entities willing to join. So you can leverage on this platform in order to build your project, not only just to build by yourself. Of course, there are many things that which are interesting from us, and one of the most interested is because we are promoting innovation, and we are providing you with training and support and mentoring whenever you join the community. Okay, yes. So let's move on. And what are we looking for? We are looking in the next call, that is the point, small and medium enterprises together with a digital innovation hub has to be members of the European Union or associated countries to the Horizon 2020 program or the UK. Okay, the minimum is 4 entities, so 3 small and medium enterprises and 1 digital innovation hub, but could be larger than that. Okay. What are we looking for? So we are looking for experiments about data sharing among companies in one or more cross value chains. It has to be real life. Okay, has to be implemented with this with the i4Trust framework based on FIWARE and iSHARE technology. Other requirements are listed in the open call and the evaluation criteria. So these digital innovation hubs which are joining will get a certified local expert if they pass the exam, and therefore can become experts and implementers, not only for the firewall platform, but also for iShare, which is the implementation partners. And there are some i4Trust channels to promote specific and local challenges in different application domains. These are the results of the previous call, some of the projects regarding logistics, environment, agri-food, and so on and so on. And this is the main figures for the next open call, which are 9. We are expecting 19 bottom-up experiments accounting for 1.8 million of equity-free funding. In just for your experiment will be from 72k euro to 120k euro per consortia, okay, depending on the size, and you will have 9 months for mentoring. Okay, remember, possibly one of the most important, the submission deadline is September 12th, but please do not leave it for the last day. Okay, you can apply right now because the call is open. Okay, these are the schedule expected. So from May to September, you submit your application. We have 1 month for the evaluation process, and once we have to sign the agreement, and the support starts from January to September 2023. Okay, so please don't miss the opportunity. Okay, and let's go to some of the closing remarks of what we have been told here, and leave some room for some questions for you. So first thing, you are trusting in a technology which is already available and trusted on the market. As my colleague Gerard has explained, we have everything in place. So iShare is currently running with more than 5,000 participants and more than 45,000 identities sharing data. FIWARE is an organization with more than 100 members. We have more than 150 product offerings. So in the marketplace, more than 200 cities are adopting. We have a strategic alignment with the European Commission Digital Program. So, and it's a remarkable opportunity to join a vibrant community where to share knowledge and best practices and to become a front runner in terms of innovation. And of course, it's a remarkable opportunity to become a FIWARE hub or an iSHARE partner. And I guess that now we have 5 minutes for questions. Please, we are open to answer every question that you can make on the chat, and because I don't think that they are capable to talk to us. Is that right, Angeles?
Yeah, questions should be asked in the chat and also in the QR and a part. I mean, that we can see on the top of the chat.
So basically, I want to emphasize the 12th of September is the deadline. So you will be creating your consortia to apply here for this funding. The sooner the better. And of course, if you have any doubt, please connect to the data spaces. I'm going to share again the link because I guess it's rather important for those who join late. So this is the link in which you can retrieve information, and of course you can contact directly to us. What type of DLT iShare is using? I guess, Gerard, this is for you.
Sure. Yeah, so it's not really relevant actually, but because it's the key thing is that it's fully distributed, but really run on a Hyperledger fabric, and the Hyperledger, of course, is governed by the iShare Foundation. So we do the onboarding of new satellites to assure the trust in the entire structure.
More details in the next session.
More details are coming in the next session. Rajiv just remarked me, so you can ask for full details, but you're more than welcome to ask those questions also to Rajiv in the later session.
Okay, there is another question by Ali. Are the presentations already available online? I'm pasting the link to the presentation. Okay, I don't think that we have put these slides into the data spaces yet, but I guess that Angeles we can do it. Don't you think so?
Yeah, of course, we can share in the community.
Yeah. And I guess that this session is also recorded, and the session will be available as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So that 2 minutes. Other questions? So then I invite my colleague. Oh, yeah, thank you. Okay. I don't know, Gerard or Rajiv, if you want to give a final remark, because we have 1 minute left and no more questions. Yeah. How many partners? The minimum is 1 digital innovation hub and 3 small and medium enterprise or larger ones. Of course, there is not restriction, but it is encouraged to have a small and medium enterprises. Of course, we have consortiums with six companies and 1 digital innovation hub. Are you implementing the DIHS standard? I don't think that I'm.
So of course, SSI is self-signed identity, which is mainly used for consumers or persons today. And of course, we're looking at the business side of that. So we're looking at the responsibility of a person for an organization. So from that perspective, also DID has business identity structures. So what is good to share that within the iShare framework, there's openness of well, there's currently the IORI identification number, but one of the updates that we'll be doing is create openness for multiple identities. So you can have multiple pointers, including the ID, in the ledger to a specific organization. Open for further debate, if you want. Of course, it's a good question, but trust in a business structure also comes from the certainty that that organization actually is there and that the person is having signing responsibility for an organization, which with SSI is not something you can accomplish as of today.
Okay.
Good question, by the way.
Yeah, just to remember, this afternoon we are starting the training at 3:30. Are only private organizations allowed, or can public organizations participate in? Good question.
Yeah, I suppose that maybe Rajiv or Gerard, but I can share my experience. But maybe you have a better question, Rajiv, or because I think that they can participate.
So the principle is, if there's, you can have as much organizations as you want, but only the funding, so only the smaller organizations that cover are in line with the SME principles can be beneficiary of the program. Of course, can participate in this structure as a data consumer or a data provider or any role in the database, but not receive funding from the Commission because it's an SME, well, as we call it, instrument.
Remember that SME means that you have less than 250 employees, so it's not that small.
Fair point, Alberto. It's SME according to the European standard definition.
Yeah.
So Google European SME, enter, and then you get it.
If I'm not wrong, it's 250 employees and less than 10 million euro turnover year. Okay, unless they have updated. Yeah.
And to add on to it, it's also slightly bigger companies are also eligible. The same link can give you the definition of that, where the upper limit of employees is 500 employees. So be sure to check your eligibility criteria based on European Commission's definition of SME and slightly bigger companies.
So thank you very much for attending. Hope you to join the program, and please make any questions that you need in order to create the consortium and to agree with the requirements. And we're expecting to you into the different training sessions across the week. Okay. So thank you very much, and thank you very much to my colleagues Gerard and Rajiv to be present, and to Angeles and others for organizing the session.